Or whatever they do in the intro. Whoa, abrasive. Welcome back to the Extremely Average Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Clayton Hill. However you're listening, you can keep listening on this platform. If you want to listen or watch somewhere else, you can go to YouTube. You can go to Spotify, TikTok. I'm on the Twitterverse as well, Instagram as well. Extremely Average FF Pod. Hit it up. Hit it up for just average things. Not getting any advice here. A little bit, but average. We're not diving deep. We're just sharing in each other's pain or joy as we head into the playoffs. And that's mostly what we're going to talk about today. Breaking down the records I have going on. Some chances are high. Some we're still fighting. And some, it's just been rough. It's been rough. So, and then I've also got I actually do have a useful tip. Got a useful trick coming up toward the end of the episode that'll help you with playoffs and those playoff lineups and looking at bye weeks and how to set your lineups, how to look ahead and be in a good position for those coming up. So heading into, guys, a week 10, I think. Where are we? What day is it? What month? All I know is that I'm just still waiting for Jonathan Taylor. That's all I know. I don't know what week it is. I just know that I'm still waiting for Jonathan Taylor. Please. But that's the one. That's where we're at in one of the leagues. I'm 3-6 on this team, and it's not a bad team. It's got like Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, Gabe Davis, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, Devin Singletary, Kyle Pitts. Like, that's my starting lineup, and I feel like that's a great lineup. It should be, but it hasn't been. And so I'm sitting at 3-6 right now. Playoffs are not looking good. And I'm facing like the top dog this week. So, it's unfortunate, but we're riding it out. What else can you do? I'm not going to quit. I'm not stopping. I also have 3 teams that are 5-4. So last week they were 4-4, 3 of them, and I won in every one of those. So that was really nice to get above 500 in those. And in my last league, the newbie league, I'm 6-3. I have been shoved off the throne by a person who's never played fantasy football before. They now become 7-2. And I'm all right with it. It's fine. I'm not worried. I've got good depth in that team. So, like a Lamar Jackson, I have Dalvin Cook, but I also have Alexander Madison if he goes down. I have Aaron Rodgers, but I also have A.J. Dillon. I've got Chris Godwin. I've got Christian Kirk. There's somebody else, Mike Williams, I think I have on that team. Pat Freiermuth is the Muth. Pat Freiermuth is on that one. Serviceable. And I think Freiermuth gets a bump from Chase Claypool getting pushed out. So, still sitting fine in that one. But yeah, we're still all over. 6-3, 5-4, 5-4, 5-4, 3-6. Sticking right there in the middle. And what do we do here? We're average. So that's where we're at. I lost a game last week in my 3-6. Like, I could be 4-5, but I lost by like 3 points at the end. Devin Singletary, the Jets-Bills game kind of got me, and that's a problem. But here we are. Another one I got back over 500. And, I should have a good core team at this point. So that one that I'm 5-4 in, it's one of my bigger money leagues. Back over 500. I've got a good core. And now I'm this is a position that I want to be in. If I've got a decent core, my wide receiver, I still need like an alpha wide receiver. I'm working with like Chris Olave, Alan Lazard, Deontay Johnson, Wan'Dale Robinson. And so Deontay didn't really show up for me this year. Wasn't really, I didn't like the pick when I took it, but he's gotten me there by volume, and thank goodness Chris Olave has come up. Alan Lazard has kind of showed up, but I mean the Packers aren't great, so it's just that wide receiver. But my running backs are studs, and I've got plenty of depth there. So we're looking at bye weeks, and we're looking to build, baby. Looking to get after it. Week 14 is a nightmare for me on that one. It's only 4 players that are on bye, but it's Chris Olave who's been showing up. It's Alvin Kamara who gets everything. I know both of those had a dud game last week, but they have been showing up. Alan Lazard on bye, Kyle Pitts on bye. Thank goodness that I'll have a week coming up where I'm forced to pivot from Kyle Pitts, because at this point I have him in so many leagues. I have him in 4 out of 5 leagues that I'm riding. I'm going down with the ship, and it's just so thin out there. So yeah, I mean, I could spin the wheel every week and try to get somebody but the upside of Kyle Pitts is still the upside of Kyle Pitts. Like Cole Kmet has come out and he's been fantasy relevant like we thought he would be at the beginning of the year, but it's just 2 games, and I know that the Bears are trending up. Justin Fields is trending up. Even Darnell Mooney is trending up. But just the sheer talent that is held within the body of Kyle Pitts, it is so difficult for me to move away from him. It's the same thing with Jonathan Taylor. In that league, I do have Deion Jackson. It was a tough matchup last week. I'm hoping that Jonathan Taylor's back this week. I think he plays the Raiders. I mean, like, I don't even know where the math is at this point on playoffs. If I'm 3-6, am I done? I feel like I'm done. I feel like my chances are very slim. I think playoffs are 15, 16, and 17 in that league. So I have like 4 more games. I mean, I basically just have to win out. I'm sitting in 9th place, and it's the top 6 that go to playoffs. And I have to win out. Jonathan Taylor and Kyle Pitts. Just can we not do what we've done the first 10 weeks? Can there just be a shifting of the winds? And wind as in what the air does, not like a shifting of winds would be nice too, because I need some winds. So shifting of wind, like blowing the blowy air stuff, and then shifting of winds, aka not losses. If we can do both of those, I will take it. So that's a little update on where I am at. I know a lot of you are probably feeling the same way. What I'm looking to do now, everything that's out there, if you're listening to any other podcast or anything about fantasy football, a lot of them are focusing on trades. And the trade deadline is coming up. So you need to check the trade deadline in your league. I have not had much success with trades, and I really haven't in most of my leagues most years. It's just people get attached to their players. They would rather work the waiver wire. And so that's kind of what I'm finding. But I do have a few out there that I'll get to here in a second. But if you're not able to get any of those trades, you've got to work the waiver wire. And where we're at right now, I said it last week. I'll say it again. You've got to get some depth, and you've got to get some handcuffs going on, because if somebody goes down, you don't want to be making a run for the playoffs, have a player go down, and then not have anybody else to fall back on. And since nobody does trades, everybody else is working the waiver wire, and that waiver wire is going to be thin. So you need to start looking at the playoff picture, looking at your buys right now, and getting those handcuffs. Jaylen Warren, Rachaad White, Alexander Mattison. Like, these are the names that I've seen out there on the Deion Jackson. People, you've got to be able to have, especially at the running back position and the quarterback. And it's really tough for me. I don't like doing this. I like my bench to be full of skill position players. It's tough for me to build in the depth because I'm just waiting for that next person to pop off. And I don't want to have to fight for that. But it's just getting to the point where I have to, if Jalen Hurts goes down, the quarterback depth is so shallow that I don't want to be streaming a quarterback in the playoffs and crossing my fingers. So getting those handcuffs, it's the same thing with tight ends. I hate rostering 2 tight ends. I hate it. If I was in a Travis Kelce situation, I probably wouldn't. Probably wouldn't roster 2 tight ends. If Mark Andrews wasn't dealing with the injuries, I probably wouldn't roster 2 tight ends. But that's the point, is that there can be injuries that pop up anytime. And so I've had to make some room on my roster for a backup quarterback and a backup tight end. And I've had to let people go. I let Isaiah Pacheco go. I really wanted to stick around and see how that played out. And he's got a good matchup this week. David Njoku was out there on the waiver wire, though, and I have Kyle Pitts, and if he comes back this week, it's against Miami. I know he's coming off the injury, but he's just such a force on that field. I can't say no. I need to be able to pivot. I need to be able to start playing matchups with Kyle Pitts since he hasn't been producing. And then I went out and it doesn't feel good. But I got Deshaun Watson on a lot of my, that's kind of my backup guy for my Jalen Hurts at this point because Justin Fields was just gone after. Tua's already off there. So now what? We're looking at, you could do a Jimmy Garoppolo if you need a floor. If you just need like 12 to 15 points. If you don't want just a goose egg. But he's not going to win you the week. He's a safe floor. Daniel Jones in specific matchups, sure. But then you're looking at like a PJ Walker. If somebody's dropped a Russell Wilson, maybe. But it's just gross out there. It's gross. And so I've had to make a couple of moves. But where I want to be is I want to build this core roster. And I want my waiver wire to turn into just light tinkering, where I'm not making huge changes unless I absolutely have to. You have to win the week. We're getting to playoffs. You have to win it. But at that point, I'm doing light tinkering, or I'm blocking my opponent straight up. Like, I pulled a trade. I realized that I was going after Nick Chubb, honestly. This guy is just not doing very well in the league. He's got Aaron Jones and Nick Chubb, and that is it. And so it's really tough for me, but I have DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. I have them both in this league. So and I also have Kareem Hunt. That's a big part of this. So I was going to trade Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift for Nick Chubb. And then I would have Chubb and Hunt instead of Swift and Williams. Chubb's just a pure runner. The goal line is there for him. I know that Swift has ridiculous upside, and he's so talented, but he's been hurt. He said he's not going to be 100%. And then on top of that, you're losing those goal line touches. So rather than just play that game, give me the pure runner that's just been an absolute beast. And when I already have his backup, that's what we're thinking about, right? But I pulled that because Aaron Jones has a injury this week. Don't know if he's going to play. I don't want to provide my opponent more depth at a position where, like, I want him to be able to, he'll have to go drop somebody to pick up another running back. And even if he does get another running back, it's not going to be a quality one. There's not that many out there. So while I really want Nick Chubb, this just isn't the week. It's the same thing. I want Amon-Ra. I want to buy low on him. this just isn't the week because the other guy has Amon-Ra too. So, but last week, waiver wire, no JT. I know it was against New England. I did not need Deion Jackson, but the guy that was sitting in second place in our league had a chance to go down, and I picked him up. I need to be able to move up and get closer to the top to secure my spot for playoffs. So I don't need Deion Jackson, but he needs Deion Jackson, and he's above me. So blocked. Hey, we got to play dirty in these streets, man. It's time to get dirty. Let's go. Same thing with like an Eno Benjamin or something like that, right? Like James Conner came back, but it's if these people aren't getting their own handcuffs, then you need to take advantage of that situation and pick them up if you can. So I said I was trying to get Amon-Ra. Gabe Davis is another one that I would try to be looking to target. His ceiling's just ridiculous. I know that Josh Allen, and maybe you can play on that. Josh Allen's kind of dealing with an elbow thing right now. Play on it. Try to get Gabe Davis on the low. His ceiling's just so ridiculous. His air yards are ridiculous. Amari Cooper silently putting together a good little stretch here and theoretically should be better when Deshaun Watson's under center. Donovan Peoples-Jones kind of putting together a nice little year here and there. So those are kind of people to look out for. Peoples-Jones you could probably pick up off the waiver wire. I'm not rushing to go get him. I'm just saying if you need somebody down there, he should be getting a higher ceiling coming up. Jeff Wilson Jr., I think I've talked about the backup for Raheem Mostert almost every show. And he comes in, he knows the system immediately. Yeah, he gets it, man. And should Mostert miss any time, it's a great offense. So I would try to be going out there, trading away Devin Singletary. Yeah, I mean, I might try to package. I dropped Brian Robinson. I totally just dropped him. Now, J.D. McKissic's he's dealing with some injuries, so maybe that wasn't the best move, but I'm just over it. And I was able to pick up Jeff Wilson Jr., so 100% I'm going to pick up Jeff Wilson. I'm going to drop Brian Robinson. But Singletary's the one that I'm a little concerned with. Nyheim Hines coming in for a reason. Didn't see a lot of action last week, but that's going to pick up. So, and he just hasn't been great. Like, they just don't. It's been the Josh Allen show. Now, maybe since Allen's dealing with a little bit of an injury, they start to run him a little bit more. But I also have Gabe Davis on that team, so it's like they start, like, I'm rooting against myself almost. I don't like to have a running back and a wide receiver from the same team because that's what you end up doing. You end up rooting against yourself. You play both of them. Now that's an offense that can support that, but not really, man. They just haven't been running the ball very well. And again, it's like, so I mentioned Brian Robinson. It can go either way, right? J.D. McKissic's out, but you have, what's his nuts? Antonio Gibson. There it is. You have Antonio Gibson who's coming in and looking like the more explosive back, which he is. I mean, there's a lot of hype around Brian Robinson. The team loved him. Coaching staff loved him, but Gabe Davis is looking good. So things I actually do have going on. I mentioned the Amon-Ra and I pulled it. The Chubb, I pulled it. Pulled the Chubb. Nice. Creepos, my Los Creepos, that's the name of the league. That's my 3-6 team. I'm not trading. I'm riding it out, man. Like I said, I've got Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Gabe Davis, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, Kyle Pitts, Jeff Wilson in the flex. Deion Jackson is a backup. Devin Singletary in the flex if I need him there. Wan'Dale Robinson, waiting for him to pop off there in New York. See if that happens. Held on to Kadarius Toney. I did have Isaiah Pacheco on that team. I'm just kind of over the backfield. of the Chiefs offense right now. It's just all over the place. And I would, if I'm going to take a gamble on anything that's muddled, it's going to be the wide receiver room because they tend to run more anyway. So if I'm not getting a three-headed committee is rough to be in. So I just went ahead and I'm going to try to chance it with the receivers there. Picked up Deshaun Watson, picked up David Njoku. Jameson Williams, wide receiver for Detroit, still on IR. He's in my IR slot. Don't know if we'll ever see him this year. Like, Detroit's not doing well, so they may not take a chance on their rookie coming in here getting hurt again. So may not even see him, but we're waiting it out. And then Kyren Williams in my IR too, running back for the Rams. It's a worse situation than Kansas City. Its offensive line is terrible. Another committee approach coming in here. I don't see how he really elevates himself or how he becomes relevant, but he's on my IR slot, and it's not costing me anything. So no trades on that one. I did throw out Darrell Henderson and Kyren Williams for Elijah Mitchell. Darrell Henderson, healthy. Kyren, IR. Elijah Mitchell, IR. But I have McCaffrey in that league, and should McCaffrey miss any time, Elijah Mitchell is a nice little plug and play. So I'm just trying to handcuff. Again, looking forward, right? And then I can't make a trade if I wanted to in my other league. Now, I am 5-4, but it is just rough. Jalen Hurts at quarterback. I have Dameon Pierce at running back and Travis Etienne at running back. That's pretty much it. My wide receivers. Wan'Dale Robinson, Josh Palmer are up there. Kyle Pitts is my tight end. Khalil Herbert in the flex. On the bench, A.J. Dillon, Gus Edwards, Isaiah Pacheco, Kadarius Toney, Tyler Boyd, Jeff Wilson. In the IR, Jamar Chase and Kyren Williams. So, I'm holding on to Dameon Pierce. I'm holding on to Travis Etienne. I'm not getting rid of Jalen Hurts. Okay. Jamar Chase isn't there. A.J. Dillon has a chance to do something this week if Aaron Jones isn't involved. But I'm looking at like Wan'Dale Robinson, Josh Palmer, Khalil Herbert, A.J. Dillon, Gus Edwards, Isaiah Pacheco, Kadarius Toney, Tyler Boyd. Like these are like just mid-range players. And I won't be able to package two mid-range players to get a stud. It's just not going to happen. I'm living in the land of mediocrity over here. And it just is what it is. We're in quicksand with the straw sticking up. Like, it's not quite to panic mode, but man, that's just not a lot of depth there at all. So, all right, got through all the fun stuff, right? Playoff prep, looking at the backup quarterback, backup tight end, getting handcuffs, the playoff schedule. You can go to, so Fantasy Pros is something that I use. You can go to Fantasy Pros and you can go to strength of schedule and you can break it down by position. And that's what I would start doing. If you're looking for somebody to trade for, somebody to pick up off of the waiver wire, every one of those decisions from now on, you should look at the strength of schedule coming up. You should look at the bye week. Make sure you're not picking up somebody like I was going to pick up Cole Kmet as my backup to Kyle Pitts. Well, Cole Kmet and Kyle Pitts have the same bye week. So while that might do me okay until then, like I'm not doing myself any favors. So it was better for me to pivot in a different direction. But if you're looking at this stuff, look on there, see the strength of schedule, see who you want to target, do all that. You can also go in the ESPN app and in the Yahoo app. If you're looking at future weeks and you want to see what your matchups are like, you want to see what your lineups are like, you want to see where your buys are at, go to your roster on ESPN or Yahoo. I don't use Sleeper or Underdog, so I'm not sure about any of that. But on there, you can select the week and you can actually move your lineup for that week to see if you're going to be in trouble. So that week 14, that's rough for me. I can go and I can select on my roster at the very top. I can select week 14 and it'll actually let you move players around because I didn't know if I needed to pick somebody up. If I was going to be in a situation where I didn't have enough players to move around to get a full roster. And so you can go to that week, move the players around like you're setting your lineup like you normally do. And it'll allow you to shift things around to see if you can have a full lineup, what those matchups look like. Now on Yahoo, it does give you a projection for each player on that week. On ESPN, it does not give you a projection, not at least that I saw. But it still lets you move things around and see where you're at. And I highly, highly, highly recommend that you use that tool. Get in there. You can set it up. I don't know if it saves the lineups. I don't think it saves the lineups, but you can at least move pieces around to see where you're at. And that has helped me tremendously because I look on there and, like I said, there were 4 of my starters that were on bye week in week 14. So really needed to check that out. But use that useful tool. Get in there, use it, look at the strength of schedule. You can Google strength of schedule for running backs, Google strength of schedule for wide receivers, or you can just go to Fantasy Pros and check that out. It's a good guideline. I don't use anything from any site. Things change as the year goes on. But it's a really good tool, a really good reference. If you can get in there, do that, and start building, man. Build those backups, check your trade deadlines, and let the chaos continue, man. But that's going to do it for us today on Extremely Average Fantasy Football Podcast. Follow me on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, and even Twitter, baby. We are out there. But build those rosters. Embrace the chaos, baby. We're just getting started. And if you're not making the playoffs, if you don't think you're there, keep going, man. You never know where the season will turn out. You don't know what happens week to week, even if it's a slim chance. And if you know that you're not going to make it, just enjoy the rest of fantasy football. Now you don't have to stress or anything like that. And if you're somehow like 1-7, that's not even a real thing. It'd be more than that because math, right? But if you're down there at the bottom, just have fun with the rest of the year and get a little crazy and just enjoy it. Ride the ride, baby. But we'll see y'all next time.